So, here's something you may not know about me. I've got a soft spot for our bees. I love to garden, and nothing makes me happier than to sit near my borage or my rosemary, listen to the gentle buzz and watching the bees flit from one flower to the next. I find it so relaxing. But as you know, our bee population has it tough, and if we lose our bees, we lose our crops. Today I'm sharing some easy to implement ways that we can give our bees a helping hand. And now for a bit of a buzz.
Well, hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Project Joyful podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Tutty, your medical herbalist and high performance coach. So, hey, Project Joyful isn't just about being happy. It's about consciously creating a life you love. It's about remembering how to reconnect with your soul-centered joy. You know, that joy that comes from doing what you love, from living on purpose, and from being in a life that allows you to experience deep joy moment by moment. So hey, let's get started, shall we?
Well, it's true that our bees need our help. The fact is that we need them way more than they need us. Here's an interesting statistic. We have 100 crop species which feed 90% of the world. Of those 100 plants, 70 of them are pollinated by bees. If we lost our bees, not only would we lose those plants, but also all of the animals that eat those plants and all of the animals that eat those animals. And that repeats all the way up the food chain. Why are our bee populations declining? Well, there are a variety of reasons, such as varroa mite, increased use of pesticides both in the home and commercially, climate change, and the fact that we have less flower meadows. But the good news is that we can help them. Bees stay in their hive when it's cold. Once the thermometer hits 10 degrees Celsius, they're out the door foraging. The warmer it gets, the more active they become. So if you need to apply a pesticide in your garden, do it when temperatures are below 10 degrees. When it's warm, they can fly up to 13 kilometres, although most of their foraging is done closer to home. They don't fly in the rain or in high winds. Wherever you can, use natural or organic pesticides, fertilizers and herbicides. For example, build ladybird houses and put it next to your aphid-prone plants rather than spraying them. Like most of us, ladybirds prefer a warm spot out of the wind. Create some bee-friendly water sources. Lay down a shallow dish and fill it with water. Add some twigs and stones so that they've got somewhere to rest while they're having a drink. Keep it topped up, ensuring the water is clean and pesticide-free. If you see a bee that seems to be a bit tired, give her a boost by providing a simple sugar syrup. Dissolve 2 teaspoons of white granulated sugar in 1 teaspoon of water. Never use honey. Place it on a plate beside the tired bee or on a flower near where she's resting, and leave her to it. My favourite bee-friendly tip is to fill the garden, window boxes or balcony pots with bee-friendly plants. They feed your soul as well as the bee. Bees collect nectar or pollen depending on the time of year, so it's a good idea to have plants that flower throughout the year. My favourite bee-friendly plants are borage, rosemary, lavender, basil, thyme and lemon balm. Create a cottage garden feel by adding some foxgloves to it. And if you want to plant some New Zealand native trees, consider New Zealand jasmine, New Zealand flax, pohutukawa or rewa. Think cluster planting rather than individual plant, so plant them in groups of 3 or 5. And if you're not using your lawn for kicking a ball or a bit of cricket, consider converting it into a wildflower meadow. I see many councils are starting to plant roadside birches with wildflowers. Not only are they pretty, but they also provide an additional food source for our bees. So encourage your council to plant for our bees. Their favourite colours are blue and yellow, and they like their flowers to have a broad landing pad or a long tubular flower where they can go in and collect the nectar in the bottom. Not everybody's favourite lawn addition, but if you're a bee, you can't beat a good dandelion. So please don't spray them. They flower all year long and they're a great source of pollen. And if you can cope with it, let your lawn grow a bit before lopping off those dandelion heads with the lawnmower. Don't forget your bumblebees. They're fond of sage, a nice big verbascum shrub, some snapdragons and thistles. And bumblebees nest in the ground, so help them out by creating spaces between rocks and bricks, a twig ensemble, or buy a ready-made bumblebee house. Bees have a way of capturing your heart, so get the whole family involved by devising hidey houses and water sources. Get the kids involved in planning and planting your cottage garden or your native wildflower meadow. They'll return the favour by pollinating your fruits and veggies as well as your flower beds. If we all did just one thing, we'd help our gardens to thrive and we'd leave the world a better place for our children's children. Sending you lots of love. Bye for now.
Hey, thanks for listening to today's podcast. Can I ask you a favour? If our conversation spoke to you today, could you please take a moment to leave a 5-star review? Your review will help people discover this podcast, and together we can create a world where there's even more love and more laughter. And if you want to hear more from the Project Joyful podcast, just click the subscribe button. Bye for now.